In the darkest corners of the universe, where the light stops to a crawl and where sound cannot escape, where time stops working entirely and eventually things in existence stop making sense. Chaos is an inevitable force on our world and our lives, so we've made great efforts to contain it within this space for only an hour a week. This is the Chaos Continuum.
Welcome, everybody, to the Chaos Continuum podcast. Today is a very special day. We are joined by a very special guest. I forgot the name already. The JERIKO podcast is here with us.
JERIKO podcast. There we go.
I remember the JERIKO part. I don't remember the actual part.
Yeah, it was originally the Said It Meant It podcast, and then we rebranded and turned into the JERIKO.
Oh yeah. Why JERIKO? Is the biblical story?
It is a biblical story. So I grew up in a Christian family. I'm a Christian myself. My name is Joshua. That's my real name. And Joshua is the 6th book of the Bible. And in that story, Joshua is sent by God to destroy Jericho, and they walk around the city 7 times. And then on the 7th day, the walls fell.
Yeah.
And
Wizard. I like the name.
Nice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I wanted to ask, you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I wanted to ask what happened, why the rebrand, why the loss of a co-host.
Yeah, so I won't go into too much of detail, but Braylon and I, we were friends for about 4 or 5 months, I think it was. And then we decided to do a podcast. We talked about it for about a month, and then we started doing it. And then there was a very strong disagreement that was honestly really petty, and it shouldn't even have happened. But it was both of our faults, and there was a third party involved, and it was all of our faults. And there was a video involved, and it really shouldn't have been sent. But yeah, he took it the wrong way, and no matter how much we tried to explain to him what it really was about, he didn't want to hear it. So things got rough, and we parted ways, unfortunately.
Okay, this is Lauren. I didn't know you guys had only known each other for like 4 or 5 months before you started Said It Meant It.
It was pretty short. And we'd be on the phone till like 2 a.m. in the morning talking about stuff, and he said, let's do a podcast. And I said, sure.
So it didn't work out. Sorry for cutting you off. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's all right. You go ahead.
I just, speaking of starting podcasts, how did we come up with this? Was this all you? And I was kind of just like, sure.
I think I asked you because I remember you had really terrible ideas for podcasts when we were in high school, and I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then after I started doing Nexus Nights and everything, I was like, hey, you actually want to do a podcast thing? All you have to do is show up, and I'll do all the work. And that's what we've been for the last 7 months.
That's awesome.
I think we spent about a week workshopping the name. Well, I spent about a week workshopping a name. You would like tell me something, and I'd be like, no, I hate that. And then eventually I came to the Chaos Continuum, and I was like, yeah. I also, by the way, I was thinking about this the other day. We were using the name completely wrong because I always in my brain was like, the Chaos Continuum. The chaos is contained. Like, it's in the intro to the podcast is that we contain the contest.
Yeah.
The chaos.
Yeah.
Continuum means like continuing, like to be continued. So
yeah,
I've been using it completely
we were on the
wrong.
same page about this.
No?
Okay.
Oh, well, I apparently was not.
Okay.
But that's interesting.
I saw the name and I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Dude, that intro took me a solid 30 minutes in Final Cut Pro to make. All those PNGs, the Twilight Zone style nonsense going on, music ripped straight from Mass Effect. That's just the way to do it. And I also kind of wanted to ask, I was interested in the process of, so when did you guys start this? Or when did you start Said It Meant It originally?
We launched in October, I believe it was. It was either first week of October or last week of September is where we were ready to go.
Okay. And then what was your whole process for like getting like an actual podcast set up? Like obviously I know you got the mic, the boom mic, headphones and everything, but
So aside from podcasts, I'm a musician, right? I'm a rapper, and so I had all the equipment beforehand already, and I think 3 weeks before I was already getting this mic. I had it on pre-order, and then I borrowed my mom's ring light, and that was really it. He had to get some stuff on his end, but then I think the hardest part was really trying to figure out YouTube and OBS because we had to create the account and then share the information both ways, and then just do a bunch of back and forth with it. So it was really I had everything already.
Okay.
So I've got a quick question. Yeah. Because I watched a few guys' episodes. So why did you guys start with Zoom? Like, out of curiosity.
Right. So we started with Zoom because I'm pretty sure I had no clue about OBS, and I don't think he knew about OBS either. But we started with Zoom because we thought it was easy first, but then it was easy, right? And so we logged on, and then our first recording, you can see us look up at the screen in shock when it tells us you have 10 minutes left in your call, and we're like, crap. Well, I didn't know that, and so we were planning on researching if we buy Zoom, it's gonna cost. If we split it, it's going to cost us both like $80 or $90, and we did not want to do that. And so that's when we segued into using a different platform, hence the OBS calls.
Yeah, I will say that's like one of the first thoughts I had when I was introduced to Sedimented originally, and I looked at, I think episode 3 was like the first one I saw. I was like, oh, why are they using Zoom? Zoom only has like a 30-minute limit. And I was like really confused by that at first, because I've only ever known OBS because of all of the different creators and things I listen to, and I just know how it's like the biggest one, so it's got the most support for stuff. Like if you have an OBS question, Reddit has the answer, right? It's just so very open like that.
I had no clue about OBS. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know what it was. And so I thought you had to pay for it too. I'm like, man, I really don't want to get into a new program and have to deal with the hassle and the money and stuff. And so he said, let me check it out. And so he checked it out, and
I think
figured it out.
The best thing is finding how much you can do for free, right? Because some stuff you have to do money for, like webcam costs money, lights cost money, microphone, boom mic for it costs money. The computer obviously costs money. OBS is free. Right. All of the like graphics tools I use are all from the Pixlr suite, which is all free on like web or whatever. And then it's like the only other thing I use, like Discord is free, OBS is free. Try to make everything as free as possible. The audio app I use for recording the sound off my computer, kind of how I get the Discord call and everything, is a completely free app. And then like I think the only thing I have ever paid for was Final Cut Pro, which is it's like Apple's version of Premiere Pro, if you know like the video editors. It's kind of like it's a more standardized thing, but it's got like professional tools and stuff. And that's that's only the really thing that I've run into so far, that as far as software goes, that you need to pay money for to make stuff at some level of quality, right? Because most video editors that I've found online, even like CapCut, I feel I don't necessarily like them as much as like the professional tools are. Yeah.
One thing I noticed because I just got CapCut now, and so one thing I noticed is you can download the video off of YouTube, right? Or if it's your own video, you upload it into CapCut. And so one thing I want to do is start one of my own like Instagram pages of like highlights of movies, say for example. So I would download the videos off of YouTube, right? And then slice it and put it into CapCut and then get the footage. So
dope. Yeah, I kind of just show up. I'm like I'm Kyle's sidekick basically in this whole journey of everything that he does.
Yeah. That's it does work out pretty sorry. It does work out pretty well, like how we were talking right before we started recording about like the Warhammer stuff we were doing. You could see in most of the shorts I created for the Warhammer stuff, either on YouTube or on TikTok, every single one of them is like me presenting some kind of Warhammer information, and then Ben goes, "What is that?" And then I explain it, and that's basically the entire structure of the short, and that's most of what the episodes are as well. Like Ben is just sort of it's just sort
I noticed that
kind of here.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying there, Josh?
No, I was just saying that I noticed, like, when I first found you guys, or when you reached out to me, I checked you guys out, and then I noticed you were very heavy on Warhammer content. And well, I'm like, well, I'm a little familiar with Warhammer, but I haven't played it in a few years. So it's been a really long time, and it was just a mobile app. So
Yeah.
any
Okay.
knowledge that is being portrayed now, I don't know anything about it.
That's fine.
Because I only knew it from like kind of the mobile game that they have, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I played.
And from like the little bits and pieces that I'll run into online.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was quite the fun experience to kind of sit down and learn about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think as well, like a lot of the times I would just come to Ben at 3 in the morning and be like, hey, I'm going to drop some Warhammer knowledge on you. And then eventually I was like, what if we just did an episode like this?
Yeah. I'd like try to fall asleep, my phone goes ding, and I'm like, "The f- do you want, man?" Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So not even the tabletop, just like the app for it or whatever many apps they have.
Yeah, it was just a mini game or something. Like,
Yeah, like Tacticus or whatever I think it's called.
So
Isn't there one like that? I keep
speaking
getting
about-
ads for it all the time.
Yeah, it's Warhammer Tactics, yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
speaking about podcasts and stuff, where are you kind of going forward? What's your plan forward with yours? Yeah,
Yeah,
just to, like,
so
watch the stuff, but just to reiterate, whatever. You know?
yeah, for sure. So, in the last episode, I said that the schedule is definitely going to change because when I was doing
Yep.
it with Braylon, it was once a week, and I can't do once a week. That's just not going to
That's
work for
fair.
me. So what I'm going to do now, and I don't want to do it on my own because you're talking to yourself and you can get bored of your own
I don't
voice
think you
for
can
an
do a
hour.
one-person podcast.
No,
like
you
maybe
can't.
you could do streaming one person, but podcast is definitely it's carried by like the interactions you get between people.
Yeah, if it's a point, it's not going to work. So, I think my plan going forward is to change the schedule from once a week to once every 2 to 3 weeks, if I can. I want to keep it within a month at least. And right now, I am looking for a new partner, but I'm still kind of staying careful about that because I want to try and find someone that's more local, like in my town, that can come over to my place and we can do it like
Yeah.
in real time. So, but right now I'm just doing guests. So a few weeks ago I had Judah. I'm trying to get my good friend who is highly obsessive over movies. My second friend who is highly obsessive over music and Christianity and politics and stuff like that. So I'm trying to arrange it in a way that it works and that it flows well, but also I want to keep it organized and try to keep it condensed, but also not too far-fetched.
Yeah,
If
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense. Yeah.
It sounds exciting, to be honest. Yeah.
I am excited. If it works out, it's going to be great. I'm really excited.
I'll definitely end up sitting down and probably watching some of them when I can. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, I like the way that you kind of run it, right? Like kind of over here, it's a shit show half the time, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And when like yours very comes off as something that's a lot more structured. No offense, Kyle. Yeah. But I sorry, continue.
I was just saying I had before, like when we did the episodes, we would talk about the topics we wanted to do throughout the whole week, write it down,
Yeah.
organize it in a way that
I've
it
tried
flowed
so many
correctly.
times.
Yeah, and then we would record, and then I'd hand the edits over to Braylon. He'd do them, and then I'd hit post.
Heck yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask what's your like kind of philosophy when it comes to making content, because I don't know how much thought you put into as far as like what the experience is for the viewer, what it like for the end result of things, or how much thought mainly goes into like where like your focus is as far as production, pre-production, post-production, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so mainly I focus on production. And what I want to do is whenever I put out a certain form of content, I want it to be good. I don't want to half-ass it, right? I want people to come back to watch it later. So I want to put it in a way that will engage people. When I used to research how to do YouTube Shorts, they would say, use this icon or use this sound or use this type of texture, right? And so I take notes and I focus on what brings people back to the short or the episode. So for the episodes, I try to have the topics as exciting and as engaging and interesting as possible, and what's happening in real time, not what happened like 3 months ago or 4 months ago, right? Because people they have a short attention span. They don't want to hear about what happened last year. right? They want to hear about what's happening right now. So that's basically what I do. I want to keep it in the now, and with what little I have, do my best to make sure that people keep coming back for it.
Okay. I think I was just curious on how you like approach it, because like you were saying, like if you're doing it bi-weekly or even like close to monthly, like I feel like, and also like staying in the now, those are like two very hard things to balance. Like whether you run it as sort of like a here's everything that happened this week, let's recap it or whatever, or something like that, or if it's like more what do you call it, abstract kind of like stuff either coming up or kind of presently happening.
Yeah, for sure. So say for instance, if it's like if that guy Mike at the Grammys just got arrested, right? If I said that 3 weeks from now, people wouldn't really care.
Yeah.
But then, for instance, Carl Weathers just passed away. If I said that 3 weeks from now, people would probably still listen to that. So I try to keep it. I try to keep it as engaging and as interesting as possible.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I bet you didn't even know that guy Mike got arrested.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the Grammys were happening.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Did you know?
Well, since I do, I know. Yeah, I kind of keep my ear to things. Okay, so since we're talking about it, what happened with this Mike being arrested? I would love to hear about this.
I believe, I don't know all the details, but I believe he was nominated for 3 awards, and right before, I think there was like an interlude, and right before he was called or something like that, he was taken away in cuffs while the event was still going on, while there were people there. This wasn't a subtle thing. This wasn't like an event or came to their house at night. He was at the event, and he was taken away.
Okay,
Do we know what he did?
So
No,
for battery,
I have no clue. Oh, battery, damn.
that's what it says. I don't know what constituted battery. It is Killer Mike, who I listen to a lot. You just said Mike, and I was like, huh? But yeah, Killer Mike.
Yeah.
Who is
Killer
one
Mike,
half of Run the Jewels.
Interesting.
Trying to see.
See, I don't know. It's stuff like that because I don't like. My issue with, I'm horrible at coming up with ideas for this stuff, but I kind of don't keep my head in like new stuff. You know what I mean, right? I'm very disconnected. Like, I find stuff that was funny 4 years ago. Like, I'm very behind. Consecutively. So I think that's why Kyle does a lot of the ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Props to you guys for doing this too, because if it sounds like you guys are very like this, you're very goat-headed when it comes to the show. So the fact that you guys can do this and still make it work is awesome.
It's less so that it's like headbutting like goats. It's more so like if you took a mythical dragon and like Donkey from Shrek, right? Like we all know that the dragon is bigger, but the donkey just fucking, it works somehow in some way. And unfortunately, being the dragon, I have to sit here and I don't know where this analogy is going. I have to sit here and let Ben make little baby dronkies out of me, and that's kind of what the podcast turns into.
But I feel like it's different because you and I do a lot of stuff together, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know, like I'll be like, I'm on a stream a lot, and him and I talk about a lot of the content that he makes, right? Yeah. So I think for us it really helps, and we've been friends for a long time. Well, we started out hating each other, I think, right? Something like that.
We were just like around the same people,
and then bonded over a mutual conflict. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's the fact that we kind of do I'm kind of like standing beside him while he does a lot of his content stuff, right? Yeah. And I'm just really big on that, and I think I think there's good chemistry there, right? Yeah.
A lot of our strategy is like kind of like a very extended game of telephone where we'll like sit down for like maybe an hour or 2 hours once a week and be like, hey, this is what we're planning, do this. And then on, whenever we actually sit down to record, we're like, okay, here's what we have ready. We do it. And then editing and all that sort of stuff that goes on, all the stuff that I do. And then, sometime later in the week, we'll get back together again and kind of talk about what we're doing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So you guys don't talk every day during the week, or if it's just like
sometimes, most of the time, no, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Him and I, like we'll go like a couple days.
We will
without talking, and
text,
suddenly,
but not like
Yeah, like-
we won't sit down and like plan stuff out unless
Right.
we.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
like it's like a maybe like send me something funny. And I'm like, haha, right? And then as it
Yeah.
gets closer to whatever day we decide to record, we usually try to record on Mondays, but
We've recorded on Friday for the last like 3 weeks.
I get my schedule is very weird. Yeah.
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 Sometimes like having a kid and everything, it kind of complicates a little bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We used to talk every day, and then I don't know why we stopped. Yeah,
It's just stuff getting busy. Like I have
Yeah.
a lot that I do as far as the podcast streams. We do Nexus Nights as like a community gaming stuff on the weekends, and then I have like my main the Buster McTunder YouTube channel, which is doing stuff. Plus, like I still work a 50-hour-a-week job. I know Ben works; he's got his kid, and obviously everything there. So it's just sort of like we kind of have to find time where we have it.
Well, and I think that and I think at least this is how I look at the podcast. I know Kyle and I have talked about this a little bit, but I think it's more of like a God. It's like there for the memories. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Like the Warhammer ones, I mean, we made the switch, which was funny, but like I want to put out good content, but I also if I want it to be like a very real conversation, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the episodes that we record is basically how we would talk outside of recording, right? Yeah, if we're sitting there at 11 o'clock at night and you know what I mean, shooting the shit, right?
Fair. Yep.
I don't know.
It's
I
kind of
enjoy
just like
doing
a
it.
journal in film
Yeah.
form in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. And then like switching gears to like the Warhammer stuff is more like you say, like hitting to something that people will actually like tune in to watch, because the main thing, and we're very aware of this, is that like if you're talking about yourself, if you were talking about me and Ben or anyone, if we bring on Spyro the Gay Dragon, if we bring on our friend Steven or Josh or anything, nobody who sees that video on YouTube is going to click on it unless they're deranged in some way, right? Like that's just not how content gets the ball rolling. That's kind of like why the switch to Warhammer stuff, and in the future other kind of nerdy stuff, like the next one we're going to be doing is Destiny. That's how that stuff gets on, because people see it. It's something they already know. It's something they already relate to, or maybe it's something they've wanted to know about. Like you've had a little bit of experience with Warhammer, and you like somebody like that will want to know more, and they'll click on that and they'll get introduced to it that way. But nobody's going to see a podcast episode of me and Ben, someone they've never known, never before, and click on that and sit down and watch it for like an hour and a half. You know,
Well,
it's kind of.
And then I started doing the Warhammer videos though too. Is that it still brings in traffic, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Which then-
That's all you guys' views.
Yeah. Which yeah. I honestly
we did
went from-
90,000
we went from 10 to
views in the
we
last
went
month,
from
thanks
10 to
to.
100. We went from 10 to 100 subs in like 3 weeks.
No, we're actually at 120 now.
Thanks.
I think.
Sorry, 120. Just to the Warhammer stuff, right? But it brings in that traffic, then trickles down a little bit to some of our other videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Sure.
This is here as a look kind of at the both of us, but at least I know very well that like this kind of stuff is not going to be interesting to outside eyes that much until more of a general audience base is built up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's not that it's not interesting. I think the stuff is definitely interesting. It just doesn't have.
Well, there's no like pre-built reason to get into it. Yeah.
Right.
Like whereas Warhammer
Nobody
has
knows
like
that
an
we're
audience
doing
built
this
into
right
it. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Like, but say like nobody knows that we're doing this right now. But like once we announce it, right, and then like say for instance you have 120, I think I have maybe 30. I lost a little bit. Any of my subscribers that's paying attention, they'll come and check you guys out, and yours will come and check mine out, right? And then if they like what they see, then they'll subscribe and they'll start watching.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice part about kind of collaborating with people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Definitely.
and you get to build that with with friends and people you meet, whatever, right? I was actually super excited to have you on. I know that we've talked about this for a while. Yeah, because I
Thank
made
you.
the comment. I was like,
I
I
remember-
actually think you're gonna be the most interesting one. Yeah.
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 Just because, as much as I love our other guests, they're just, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more
So,
like
by the way,
friends, so we already know everything.
The only like the time we had guests on that I thought it was really good was the one time that Ben didn't show up for an episode. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I was gonna say something. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So, Kyle, you take it.
I was gonna say like on back on like the thing where I remember you talked about like looking into like people make videos on like how to make YouTube Shorts kind of go big and whatnot, and like the biggest thing for me, kind of along the lines of what we're talking about here, is that I always try to look to or I listen to like very specific people that are successful in the space, right? Like all of the podcasts that I listen to are all big creator podcasts. If it's like the official podcast, which is Moist Critical and his friends, or like Steak and Eggs, which is Asmongold, or the Snark Tank, who is a bunch of like kind of smaller YouTubers that I've watched for a long time, and you just listen to those for a long time and you'll get bits and pieces of how they do things and how they run things and whatever, and it kind of helps put you in that headspace. Like a great resource for me that I found on YouTube Shorts is Pirate Software. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's a...
I think I know what you're talking about.
He used to work as a dev for Blizzard, and then he quit, was working for like a nuclear defense agency for a while, and then now he started his own gaming thing. And he streams like himself working on the game and stuff like that. And he has a lot of YouTube shorts you can go and find where he like talks about his experience working at Blizzard and different tech companies and making content and kind of the philosophy of that kind of stuff. And like those kind of resources to me are way more valuable, because I remember seeing them like when I started making stuff on YouTube would try to like promote videos to me, like how to make your video get views in 5 minutes. And it's like all of the videos by channels like that, I immediately turn away from, because you look at them and it's like a channel with like 100,000 subscribers, which is not bad by any means, but there's a reason why they only have 100,000 subscribers and the people who I watch otherwise have millions upon millions, right?
Yeah.
So to kind of pivot into maybe something else for a bit here, if that's all right with everybody. So I was one of like, so Josh, just like you've talked about music in some of your episodes, and just was interested in you be like kind of talking about that stuff, if that's all right.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
Like as a musician, like what genre of music or type of music kind of draws to you the most?
I am,
or like you're drawn to.
Yeah, I am heavily obsessed with hip hop rap. Anything in that realm, I am instantly drawn to, because.
So do you like? Sorry, continue. My bad.
No, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So did you have like a favorite artist, like number one of all time?
Yes, I do, and I'm gonna put out a disclaimer right now. All my artists that are like my top 5, my top 10, top 3, top 1, they have all been labeled as corny in some point in time, and are either have been or currently are still. So I just want to put that disclaimer out. On August 27th, 2023, I went and saw NF live for the first time in my life. He is my number one rapper of all time. I have almost all his records. I've been listening to him since 2015. I was 13 when I found him. And I could not believe what I was listening to. It was just, I was blown away. And I saw him for the first time last year.
That's pretty cool. NF always reminds me of like, kind of like the hip hop version of Panic at the Disco for me, because that's what my experience with it was. Like the first time I heard about it was in high school. Like my first, my high school girlfriend was like the first person to introduce me to NF, and I was like, oh, okay, I see, but like I didn't pick up on it. And then it wasn't until I heard, I don't remember the name of the song. God damn it! It's the one where he's having like an internal argument with himself.
Is that intro too?
I have no idea. I want to say it's like called Break or something, but I can look it up here. But it wasn't until like later on, like literally at the kind of middle of last year, that I heard like one of those newer songs, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind, I get it.
Yeah. He's though. To see how far he's come, the search. There you go. Yeah. To see how far he's come in 8 years is really phenomenal, and it's
insane.
Yeah, he takes a very long time to put out records, which is a pet peeve I have, because he's such a good artist. I wish he would put out more, but I let him do his thing because he delivers every single time.
I think he's good from what little I've listened to him. He's really good at like kind of hitting right at like that emotional like nerve point.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds good too, right? Yeah, like that good mix of that emotional music, and it's nice.
It just goes hard.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Right,
his production is crazy. He's got his friend Tommy Prophet, and then he's got Cole Wallowak, who
yeah.
is actually the nephew of Toby Mac, who was also one of the first rappers that I started listening to at a young age. So it's all in a circle, and once I figure out that it's all in a circle and that they're all connected in some way, I just get over obsessive again because I love it.
That's
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I think music is like a really important part of a lot of people's lives, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, do you have like a least favorite genre, like out of curiosity?
Least favorite would probably be R&B, and
Yeah,
or it's unless you want to go more modern and say like funk or like I can handle EDM and dance, but it's like R&B is really just slow for me, and oftentimes I really just can't relate to any of it. So I kind of just I'm not hating on it. I'm not saying it's a bad
Yeah.
genre. It's
Of
a
course.
phenomenal genre, of course.
It
Right?
just doesn't call to you as much.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It has its own audience, and it's just not for me.
I think for me personally, I have a bit of a gripe with some of the newer age country music. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of grew up listening to country and rap, and I kind of grew up listening to everything, right? Yeah. And I'm kind of a sucker for that. You know what I say? You know what I mean by like traditional like country music, like your Johnny Cash and all that shit, right?
Okay, I was about to ask, do you mean like Johnny Cash or do you mean like Marty Robbins?
Yeah.
Because those are two very different.
Because I when I listen to like this newer country, it doesn't sound like country, if that makes sense.
It's like pop country,
Right.
like Stadium.
Yeah, that I know exactly what you're saying. There's an artist right
Yeah.
now who is a hip hop artist. I won't say any names, but he is substantially a hip hop artist, right? But lately he's been
Yeah.
branching into more country music, and he's been
Yeah.
labeling it as country. But the more he makes it, the less country it sounds. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, why not label it like
Well, it's like as soon as they add in the acoustic guitar, like that's enough for them to call it country.
Then
Yeah.
it becomes country all of a sudden. And NF has a few acoustic guitars in his music. I can name at least one right now.
Well, yeah.
So why
Like,
is he a country artist?
Yeah, because I don't mind like the acoustic guitar stuff, but if it's not country, don't call it country, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's not country, don't call it country.
Well, that's why I like Apocalyptica, who is a kind of grunge emo rock band, but their entire thing is that like the two leads of the band both play cello, which is not something you normally
Yeah.
hear in like rock and
Wow.
stuff.
That's wow. That,
You've
that's
never heard
actually
of it?
very
You should look them up.
random.
Apocalyptica.
No, I haven't.
So it's like the two guys play cello, and the kind of the way their band works is they get somebody else's singer to come on and do vocals for their songs. So they've
Oh,
worked
really?
with almost every like rock band you could think of.
Yeah,
But
I kind of find myself gravitating towards like a lot, not all the time, but a lot of like older kind of music and all sorts of genres, right? Yeah.
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 Maybe that's just because some of like even like some of like the newer rap just doesn't sound like rap. Yeah.
No.
You know what I
it
mean?
doesn't. It really doesn't. And I have gripes with almost anybody that people has in their top 10 or top 5. I can't stand half of it. I just can't.
Which like out of curiosity, what's like your least favorite? Yeah.
My least favorite probably right now. I don't know if I have a least. I have a bottomless pit. There's
What's some names that come to mind? Yeah,
Yeet. I don't know
that's
if you know who Yeet is. Playboy
Yeah, unfortunately.
Playboy Cardi. Pretty much anybody with Lil at the start of their name.
I still like
Lil
Little
Nas
John.
X. Well, no, Lil Jon. He's okay. I don't know all of his discography, so I'm gonna have to still.
Yeah.
get into it.
I just know Lil Jon is
I know
the
he-
yeah guy. Like that's what he does in every single song. Is he just does
Yeah!
like the yeah. I like him on
Yeah.
it's
Turned
a
Down
song
for
called
What?
Not Turned Down for What. It's called Let's Go. It's I
Okay.
can't remember the name of the guy who did it, but he got Little John on there, and they sample Crazy Train.
Okay.
So it's like the Crazy Train intro, like the da 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 da, and then you just get the Little John yeah at the beginning, and then it kicks up from there.
Yeah, it's Doja Cat,
Yep.
Cardi B, any of those like more disgusting artists. I don't touch them. I just can't stand
That's
it.
fair.
I prefer a more centered, more grounded, and someone with a message, like Russ,
Yeah.
or like
Yep.
NF, or like Tom McDonald. Those guys.
Yeah. I I don't know, because I kind of grew up on very like old school rap, right, alongside other genres. That was a big one for me, and I find that like I don't know. There's something a way that like for me, there's something way that it sounds that I just doesn't. It's not replicated. You know what I mean in today's era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that like all the new rap is bad. I don't mind some of it. Yeah.
No, some of it's good. Some of it's really good. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I think it just depends.
Like, do you have a favorite? Do you have like a favorite newer one?
Favorite newer one?
Or like a really good one that like comes to mind. It doesn't have to be like number one, right? Yeah.
How new? How new are you talking? 5 years?
Yeah, 5. Let's go 5. Let's go 5. Yeah, 5 years.
5 years. Okay. I know Ren is really good. I don't know if you've heard Ren. Have you heard Ren?
I think so. The name's familiar.
He's a UK artist, and he did a song called Hi Ren, and it's about 7 or 8 minutes long, and it's just him battling his subconscious, right? His evil self versus his good self. And I thought that was really creative, and his production, because he does it all on his own, right? He does the production, he does the lyrics, he does the recording, and he does the mixing, which is also super impressive, because I don't know the first clue about mixing or anything. So the fact that he can do all that, and if you listen to his album, Sick Boy, he has loads of different type of stuff on there, right? He is really creative. He has dance, he has, I'm pretty sure he's got some rock in there, and rap, of course, too. So props to him. He is a really creative artist. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's really good.
Yeah, but it's like kind of where I stand with a lot of musicians. Like, I don't agree with what some of the artists that I listen to say, but that doesn't mean I can't like their music. You know what I mean, right? Like, I had a few more questions. Do you have any questions, Kyle, on this topic? Anything you want to say?
I was gonna say, I think it's like it kind of depends where you're looking, right? Because that's why I like Run the Jewels and Killer Mike and LP on that, because listening to them, like Run the Jewels 4, which I want to say that it's a while ago now, maybe about 2 years ago. To me, it sounds very classic, like hip hop, very style. It's like a very 90s, early 2000s style of thing. So it's just like looking kind of at the right people. But but that's as much as I would talk about hip hop, because if we start talking about like Tom McDonald or anything, we're gonna run into some friction very fast.
Yes, we are. I don't know if you can tell what I got behind me or what I got on me right now, but yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, that was the first thing when I watched your podcast. I brought it up.
The Hangover Gang.
Like, I've seen this somewhere before.
I will ask. I don't. Because if I know we talk about it, I will want to like fight somebody. I'll throw my dog out the window. But like, what do you think about the Shapiro bars?
Okay.
Not that they're really bars, but
not that they're really bars. Tom's been doing some interesting things lately, and I don't know why he did the Shapiro feature. Honestly, I think it really was a waste. But he's a good artist, but what he does is he'll do things for attention and for money grabs, I think, often. And Shapiro was definitely a money grab. I hate to say it, but I have to be unbiased. It definitely was. And I'm gonna say it right now, the Shapiro rap was AI. It was not Ben Shapiro. I don't care how fast.
It's weird because I think AI sounds more like Ben Shapiro than Ben Shapiro does in that song.
Yeah, I don't care how fast Ben talks. That's not him.
I think he definitely didn't write it, but he probably did just perform it.
Because he doesn't. It doesn't sound real.
It doesn't.
Well, it's like this is the guy who a few years ago said that rap isn't music, and then like here he is showing up in a rap song.
Yeah, he said that over a decade ago, and now here he is doing a rap song. But he did officially retire today as well. Today he retired.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He did. It's on his. Let me see if I can find it. It's Facebook. He did retire though. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Tom. I don't know what he was.
Oh, he said he's retiring from rap.
Yeah, from rap. Yeah.
So he showed up, dropped some of the worst bars I've ever heard, and then he retired. What a way to go!
You live with your parents. Dude, like this robot.
It was so bad. Like, I've listened to a lot.
I like the Lizzo line, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a yarmulke,
But it
homie. No
was-
cap.
Oh, that was just insane. That was just like that, like because you showed me that. You showed it to me, Kyle. I was just that's a little.
Did I show you the one by some black guy? Did I show you the stupid one?
I think so.
I follow this guy. He's on one of the podcasts I listen to. Some black guy. It's not even like it's not a racist joke or whatever. That's just what the name of his channel and everything
That's
is.
what he goes by? Okay.
Yeah,
I
some
think I
black
might have
guy.
heard of him, actually.
And he does a lot of gay covers of songs where he makes them sound as stupid and kind of incoherent as possible.
Oh,
So
oh
yeah,
my
so like immediately the same day that song came out, he did a kind of cover of it where he just is doing Ben Shapiro's verse, but all just talking about being as gay as possible.
okay.
And the voice, and it sounded more like Ben Shapiro.
It,
than the
it
actual
honestly
song.
did,
Yeah,
Wow.
like that was the most stunning part.
which is amazing because he's a
Um,
black guy from SoCal and not a Jewish man from New York. It's amazing how much better he sounds like Shapiro. He's like literally the
Yeah.
opposite of what Shapiro is.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I think when it comes to music, like, and I think in my long kind of formatted opinion, I'll listen to it, right? Yeah, you know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean. Like, I'll bump whatever you want to bump. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
Just because like I've kind of jumped genres so much. Like most like some of my playlists are like rap, and you get like your classical music in there, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and just like a wide variety.
hmm
I think when I get nitpicky about what kind of music I listen to is when I listen to an artist who already sounds like another artist that I just like more and just does better. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not. I personally, I'm not a big Tom McDonald fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no hate for anybody that likes it, right? Yeah.
No, yeah, that's fine.
But like, yeah. What else? Do we have any? Josh, do you want to talk about anything involving kind of music? Do you have anything you want to bring up?
Sure. Lately I've been listening to more traditional folk, so like more of like the Viking genre of music because my family and we were watching Vikings for like all the way through November and December, and then as soon as we finished that, we started Breaking Bad, and so I started
Wizard.
not joking. We binged Vikings, and then night after Breaking Bad watched.
No, I get it. I binged Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul in like the last half of last year. It was like the first time I watched it. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit down and watch this all the way through.
4 months ago, I had not watched Breaking Bad at all.
Yeah.
And now I've seen it all. And we started Saul. We're about 4 or 5 episodes in, but we haven't watched it in like a few weeks. But yeah, I started watching. I started listening to more like traditional folk Viking music, which I found was really
What,
interesting.
like-
And
Bands or whatever have you looked into?
Miracle of Sound
Okay, yeah.
and Peyton Parrish are the guys that I'm
Okay.
listening to right now.
See,
They've
that's
both done collabs with each other.
so that's awesome, and that's actually kind of interesting because have you seen the kind of drama kind of going on between them in the last week or so?
I have not.
So basically, to break it down for everyone else listening and Ben, Miracle of Sound, who is awesome. He makes loads of songs kind of based on or inspired by video games, and he's kind of moved on to doing original songs more recently. I've listened to him for a long time, since like 2015 or so. He made the song when Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out called Valhalla Calling, which is fantastic. And then Peyton Parrish, who does it's kind of like Nordic rock, but it's not exactly... It's much more Viking cosplay than it is actual Vikings, right? Because there's actual Nordic bands like Skjal, who I love, who are, everything is, they sing everything in Norwegian. It's all like using traditional instruments and stuff like that. Versus like Peyton Parrish is a bit more on the, he's a bit more on the cosplay side of it, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that, but he did a cover of Valhalla Calling not too long after, and then the two of them did a kind of a duet on it together.
Yeah.
And then
they
recently,
re-released the song.
yeah. And recently Peyton Parrish has been touring, and on his tour he's been doing his cover of Miracle of Sound's song Valhalla Calling. But because Miracle of Sound finds it kind of disrespectful, he's asked Peyton Parrish publicly to stop doing covers of his songs on tour.
Interesting. I didn't even know he was on tour. But
Damn.
the fact that he did that publicly that could be Peyton could take that as offensive because, you know, if it wasn't if it's that big of a deal.
Well, my understanding is that he asked him privately, and he just didn't acknowledge it, so he said it publicly
okay.
to try and put pressure on him.
There you go. So that's
Because
different. That's
it is a very well known thing that a lot of people will point out. Like Peyton Parrish has this ad for his tour up on his TikTok where him and a bunch of people are dressed as Vikings. It's obviously something, you know, if you talk to enough people, a lot of the ways that Vikings are depicted in media with like tattoos and horns and the really heavy leather fur coats and everything, and like the braided everything, a lot of that for the most part is inaccurate. Like they didn't have tattoos, they didn't have horned helmets, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people that are actually Norwegian are actually into like proper Viking folk music. Like that's like a lot of the stuff I'll get into every once in a while are like, hey man, you're just it's like if somebody dressed up as like a Native American war chief and like was making Native American music. You know what I mean? Like
the first time I found Peyton Parrish, he was doing the remix Instagram reel of Valhalla Calling, and I found that his vocals were good, but I really didn't enjoy his theatrics or like the way like he carried himself.
He did
in the video.
He did a song based on like God of War or whatever, and I really didn't like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've listened to some of his other stuff, and it's like it's good kind of rock, like folky rock music, but it's not like it's very clear that his cover of Valhalla Calling is like the most popular thing he's done, and that's kind of sad to me because it's like when the most popular thing you've done is a cover of someone else's work, it's like damn, that kind of sucks.
That right there was a diss that Tom McDonald said to Mac Lethal, and it's pretty sad. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, he has that song called "We Are Vikings," which I thought was pretty cool. But it's more like hard rock and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Ragnarok and a few of the other ones. It feels like it could go very well right next to like 3 Days Grace. It just has like this Norwegian like kind of spin on it, but
yeah.
What's so funny?
I have no idea what any.
Just go into a bunch of like Norwegian rock band drama. But that's why like I appreciate like a lot of the ones that are really truthful, like Skjal, who I talked about, who are like awesome, and I'll even listen to like some of the actual traditional. Like this is one thing that I've always loved is Martin. I'm not going to even attempt his last name. The guy who did the soundtracks for The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. I watched a lot of stuff of him behind the scenes because I had experience in music, doing it all through high school and even a little bit kind of past, and like my partner is currently going to school for music production and stuff like that. Okay. So like music and how it's made has always been of great interest to me, so I will always like if I see like a behind the scenes thing, I'm like ooh, just salivating, just like waiting to get a hold of it. And I was seeing this Marcin, his behind the scenes in The Witcher 3 that they actually had to, because they're using kind of folk Polish music, they had to find a bunch of Polish folk musicians and then bring them together because they play all these super old instruments like the hurdy-gurdy and stuff like that like normal like college students for school for music just don't understand because they're such old and such like specific instruments that nobody but these folk musicians did it. And they would get them all together and they'd basically be like, okay, here's the lyrics to, it's technically like wedding vows or whatever, but it sounds cool, so we're gonna have someone sing these lyrics in Swedish and you guys are just gonna kind of have a jam session and play whatever sounds best, and that's all the combat music in the game. So whenever you're fighting, technically the lyrics of whatever's going on is like somebody getting married in the background, right? But it's like just the way that it comes together is like has always been really interesting to me.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
So talking about interesting things, unless do we have anything else to add about this music stuff?
We can move on if you want.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Are we good? There's a few more things
we can move on, Ben.
Touch on.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we're good. Wizard. So I know that in my bad. I know that in your podcast before, you talked a lot about Marvel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And like, I kind of want to, because I'm kind of big into that stuff, right? I've got a wall full of comic books that you can't see right now, but it's there.
Trust me, bro.
I kind of wanted to talk to you. I kind of wanted to talk to you about a few things. Like, how did you? So I know this is an older movie, but I'm just curious to get your opinion on it. How did you feel about Ant-Man Quantumania? I know that you
I
talked about it a little bit before, but
Yeah, I personally I think it's dreadful. I think it's
Okay.
horrid.
Okay,
I don't know where your
perfect.
stance on it is,
Oh no, I
but
agree. I agree.
yeah, the fact that they use and the fact that they took Kang, who was the big bad villain that they were gonna portray out throughout the whole the new saga, right? The whole new
Yeah.
saga of the MCU, and have him. I can't even. Did he lose in the first one? They beat him, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah. No, they
Yeah.
beat him. Yeah.
Yeah, so they take the villain that they've planned out for the whole saga, a variant, and have
Yeah.
him lose in the first movie is it doesn't set
Well,
him
like,
up well
Kang's
at
whole
all.
thing is that he's like very much villain of the week, right? They're like, it's the Kang of this week, and then it's the
Yeah,
Kang of
there you
next week, and
go.
then it's the next
It's-
Kang, right? Like,
Whereas when it was Thanos, I didn't even know who
There's-
Thanos was until like Ultron because they had like they had the cutscenes right in Avengers 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and then you see Thanos put the glove on. I'm like, oh snap, who's that?
Yeah.
guy? He's big.
yeah, it's this big looming threat.
Yeah,
I
and-
think.
yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No,
I
yeah.
I think as a whole, so and I like a diehard Marvel fan. I think as a whole,
Same.
and the MCU really doesn't do villains well most of the time. Yeah. Maybe you don't
Yeah.
agree with that, but I think they like for me it's like I was a big Ultron fan growing up. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
same.
I felt they kind of threw him away, right? Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
because in
100%.
like a lot of the cartoons and the comics, I mean, he wins half the time, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, they made him feel like a joke, right? Yeah, and I think that's my issue with a lot of the MCU villains is they make their villains feel like jokes, and like it's not a serious threat. You know what I mean, right?
That's interesting
Um,
because or sorry, go ahead.
No, you go,
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because when I first watched Ultron, I think that came out in 2014.
Yeah.
It was 2 years after.
Right there.
Yeah, 2 years after the first one came out. And so I was what, 11? Yeah, probably. I have even now I really have zero to very little knowledge of the comics. And so when I watched Ultron, I thought he was an awesome villain. I still think he's a really good villain. But then after finding out how substantial he was in the comics, then you realize it was kind of a bit of a waste, right?
Yeah.
To see how little they used him. And now they're trying to squeak him in What If, I guess. I haven't watched the second season yet, but that was a pretty cool depiction. I like that.
I think
Villain. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I think Age of Ultron is really where like the Marvel necrosis sort of started to, or like the first signs of it were, because you have Ultron come out. He's supposed to be this all imposing robot, and he's making jokes about scrambled eggs and stuff. Like after he cuts off a dude's arm, and it's like it's such like a mental dissonance between like Thanos. Thanos doesn't say a single joke. Like he might say like a snarky comment like once or twice, but he's not going around being like, "Haha, guys, see how I screwed that guy up?" Like he doesn't like beat down the Hulk and be like, "Huh, I guess you're not that big after all." Like he doesn't make any of the Marvel quips, and like there's a certain seriousness over Infinity War and Endgame that I think makes them stand out so much more than like everything else, and especially now, like
Especially now.
Thor, is it Love and Thunder? Like I loved
Love and
Ragnarok
Thunder
so
was
much,
black.
and Love and Thunder, I was so excited for, and then I went into it and I was like, oh, that was it. It tried so hard to be
And you know
really
what's
funny when
sad?
it wasn't.
You know what's sad is Taika Waititi directed both.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
He-
most of what I heard is that Taika basically gave up on Love and Thunder because he was like, I made my first one, I'm famous now, and I don't really care about the character anymore. So he kind of just threw in the towel for the second one,
Oh, well,
which really sucks.
screw you, Taika. Thanks.
Yeah, which is it's a weird thing with Marvel and their directors too, where they'll take these smaller directors that are really good and they have their own vision. Like that's why Ragnarok was so good in the first place, right? Or they'll get somebody who is really good, like I'm forgetting who it was. It might have been Ridley Scott for Ant-Man 1, who had all these ideas about
Really?
like the whole idea of how I'm forgetting his name, the best friend. He like tells stories and it's like everybody in the line is like telling it through his voice. Like that was an idea from the original director, and then he jumped out because Marvel wasn't giving him enough control. So they lost a really good director, and they kind of just replaced him. But you can still kind of see his DNA on it, and that's what they do a lot of the times, where they have like these really good directors, and they either constrict them so much, like Sam Raimi. I think Sam Raimi is a great director. Obviously, the first The first 2.5 Spider-Man movies are
Well, Venom.
beloved by a lot of people.
Venom was put in the third one as a cash grab. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the third one was kind of bogged down by a lot of like studio stuff, but when it was in his control, it was really good. And obviously, Evil Dead is really good stuff. And Doctor Strange could have been really good. It wasn't like terrible, but it was definitely not the best that Marvel has done. It also felt
was
very
better
like
than
cash grabby. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you can feel where like Sam Raimi is allowed to be creative and where he's being like forced back. Like that scene where Wanda looks down, you see like the ocean in her cup. Like there's just like so much more character and creativity in that one shot than in most of Phase 4. But it's just like completely wasted because they like are so controlling over things.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that the MCU is going in this direction where everybody's just really like quippy and jokey, right? Yeah.
And unfortunately,
like,
I think it'll
not when-
stay that way because Quantumania is
And-
one of the best performing MCU movies to date.
And
It
that's
killed.
like, and I think that's why I stopped watching, right? Because it's not, you know what I mean?
It'll take a long time.
Like,
I think it's kind of like the DC movies. Like the DC movies didn't really die until like after,
Snyder
like
cut.
yeah, not even until Snyder Cut came out barely. Like that's why like the second Suicide Squad movie I don't think did as well because people were like the first Suicide Squad movie, the first Man of Steel sucked. Batman v Superman sucked, the first Suicide Squad movie sucked, and then Justice League sucked, and then Aquaman sucked, and people were like, okay, I'm not going to go watch this new Suicide Squad movie. And then it's the first good movie, and everybody misses out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marvel's kind of like in the back, kind of doing that in reverse, where like Iron Man's really good, Captain America's really good, Thor, not so much, Avengers is really good, Guardians is really good, Infinity War's fantastic, and then Black Widow, Quantumania, Eternals, everything since then is just going down and down and down and down.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks because I think they waste, like I've said before, they waste their villains and they waste their heroes. Don't even get me started about my gripe with the new Spider-Man movies. Yeah. I have like a very...
I think this would be a really good test of like where we all kind of feel about superhero movies. Not even like your favorite Marvel movie, but what's your favorite superhero movie of the last like 5 years?
Okay. What year did 2019? My favorite. This is also my favorite movie of all time. It's a superhero movie, but it's also my favorite movie of all time. 2019. What's his name? He's the director. I can't remember his name, but he directed Unbreakable. He directed Split, and then in
Glass.
2019, Glass came out.
Yeah,
And Glass
M. Night Shyamalan.
is my M. Night Shyamalan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glass is my favorite movie of all time. Best villain I've ever seen. One of the best villains I've ever seen.
Okay.
I don't
That would actually kind of cut me off guard. Yeah.
I know it catches a lot of people off guard.
It's one I don't think about a lot. Glass is actually one of the first examples of like using colors in thing that I had in my film arts class way back when.
Yeah.
Because of how like Unbreakable dude is green, the Beast is like red, and then Glass is kind of like purple in the middle.
Yeah. It was really refreshing to watch it, right? Because it came out when we were starting to be swamped with all these horrible Marvel.
Oh yeah, that's like the
movies.
same year as Infinity War.
Yeah, and then like after,
Or was it Infinity War or
that,
Endgame?
I think it probably was Endgame.
I think it was in Endgame. I think was 2019.
Okay, yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah, but then like just
Yeah, because 2020 was COVID, so.
to see him do superheroes a different way, in a less heroic way, right?
Yeah.
Was really
It's almost a
refreshing and
super
also
realist take on like superheroes.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was believable, right? It was believable. Like for instance, Split, he has a
Well, it's
real
also like
disorder that
it's
people have.
believable in like a realism way. Like that's like the thing about like the Nolan Batman movies is that like they're believable, but it's still a billionaire dressing up like a bat guy in a rubber suit to fight terrorists who want to blow up the city. Versus like Glass is like it could. You gotta separate a few degrees from reality, but it could theoretically really happen.
It could. I was so impressed.
I don't think I have a favorite in the 5 years.
No.
No,
Not a
I think
single?
like nothing that like okay, if I had to pick from the last 5 years, maybe Guardians 3. Yeah,
Yeah, Guardians.
I'd put up there. But or maybe like into I guess some of the Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that. That was in the past 5 years, right? Or my trip.
Yeah, the new one is, yeah.
Yeah.
The new one was last year.
Yeah. Like a lot of my favorite superhero movies are definitely ones that are not in the past 5 years.
Older.
Yeah. Like the X-Men, like the original X-Men movies and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so it's like, 'cause my favorite of recent memory is like the Batman, and it's got nothing.
Oh
to do
no,
with
you're right.
any of, like,
No,
the-
you're right.
Yeah,
Sorry. No. I forgot. Never mind. The Batman. Yeah.
yeah, there we go.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see how like none of our picks are like the kind of generic blockbuster superhero movies.
Yeah, no, I
Which I think is a
people are
good
starting to
thing.
get really, really sick and tired of those too, because
Yeah.
as you mentioned, right, there's directors that are leaving, and then the new guys that come, they have all these woke ideas about what they want to do and include every single buddy that they can, right? But then they also they get sidetracked with the story, and then they fumble it all together.
I want to go back to when it was like not a heart wrenching story, but you could sit there and like you could relate with the hero and the villain half the time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why whenever I talk about Marvel movies in particular, and or that fall under the Marvel label, right? I always kind of go back to the first X-Men movie. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And Magneto as a villain, and like it starts with the Holocaust. You get to see where he comes from. You can sit there. I mean, the plot was stupid, but you can sit there and you can look at Magneto, and you're like, oh, I get it. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even you've watched the Logan movie, right, Josh?
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Like that is a movie in my mind that is a heart wrencher in certain
It
parts,
definitely is.
right?
Definitely.
And I feel like the only movies to do that are like Guardians 3 as of recent, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Recently, there's.
Um,
I was gonna say something.
And I kind of want to go back to that. You know what I mean, right?
Mm.
Where it's serious and it's jokes, but it's serious at the same time, and you have that you get attached to the characters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because could you imagine if the Logan movie was just full of jokes the whole fucking time, right?
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be the same as it was.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Character development is crucial to a good story.
Oh, yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at
that's
the
like writing
Mandalorian-
101 is like the hero's
Yeah,
journey.
exactly. If look at Mandalorian, that we rarely see his face, but you love the guy because
he's
you
still
know
got a
where he
character.
comes from. Yeah, you know his story, and my dad doesn't like him. He thinks there's zero character development, but he doesn't take the time to watch the series.
The whole first season, he goes from an arc of like where he's like completely hating on droids to where like he shows his face to a droid. That's character.
Yeah,
that's what
and
character development is called.
Yeah, it's really. And Pedro Pascal is also from Chile, which I am also from.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the type of stuff that I like. Character development is crucial. The Walking Dead. I don't know if you guys watch The Walking Dead.
I am
Unfortunately,
so afraid
yes,
to
most
start
of it.
watching it.
I think all but
I'm
season
so
11.
horrified. I've been told to watch up to like season 3, season 4.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I don't think I would
I-
go like the Negan stuff is cool, but like you can kind of skip like seasons like 6 through 8 to get to Negan, and that's it.
Wow, I personally think Negan's one of the best villains ever created.
Well, that's why I say you skip that chunk between the governor and Negan, because the
Oh,
only things
yeah,
between there that I
except
think is
Negan.
any like the scene in the church with the cannibals is like the only thing I can think of that was actually meant anything up till there.
Yeah, I can't remember anything from season 5. I'm sorry. If people
Yeah,
say it's
exactly.
like the greatest
Like,
season,
that's the-
I just can't.
That's the only thing I can. I don't even know if that was season 5. It might have been 6 or 7 because
I
5
think-
I believe
I
is
think
the
it was
fallout of the
season 5.
governor.
I think Fallout is 4. I think.
Is
'Cause
5
we found-
Alexandria then?
Yeah. No.
All that.
Yes.
Yeah, where
I don't
Rick is
know.
like fucking some dude's wife, and then like they get into a fight over it, and he cuts the dude's head off.
Yeah, that's season 6, I think.
Okay.
See it sounds.
It's like most anime, right? Like it's like One Piece, where like people are like, "Dude, One Piece is so good. This episode 638 is so great." And it's like, do I have to watch episodes 1 through episode 637 to get it? They're like, "Yeah, but trust me, it's worth it." It's like it's really not. Like
It's not. I'm not. I'm proud to say I have never touched anime in my life. I have never sat down.
There's
and
definitely
watched a
good
single
animes out there. Like there's some that are worth watching. Like I think Attack
There
on Titan
probably is.
and Edge Runners are both definitely up there for me. Like I haven't watched a lot of anime, but the ones that I have seen, are definitely up there, especially compared to like other like Western shows that I've seen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wouldn't sleep on it entirely, but there are ones like One Piece or Dragon Ball where it just sort of it goes on for so long and it's kind of the same thing every time. Where it's like, okay, this is just Saturday morning cartoon type stuff.
Yeah, I've never touched it.
I think I've touched it a little bit, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I like watch it. It's like if I want to watch something, just to watch something. You know what I mean, right? Yeah.
Yeah, casual viewing.
I think for me,
Yeah.
I wasn't into it for a long time because it was hard for me to kind of like, I didn't really like the anime, like the kind of Japanese style of a lot of things. Like I still don't really
Yeah.
like a lot of Japanese games just because like
Yeah.
the style, the aesthetic of it, I don't really like. But it wasn't until like, I think it was Edge Runners that really got me into it because it's like related to cyberpunk and everything. And I watched it and I was like, oh, I get it. It's just stupid nonsense for the sake of being like as stupid and nonsensical as possible. And that like got me in the door a little bit to be like, okay, I can enjoy this. Like, I unironically kind of like Black Adam, which is, as a movie, is kind of horrible. And as a superhero movie, I think it kind of rocks because it's so stupid and it is so brain dead the entire time, but there's so much fun action happening that I felt like I was watching Transformers 2 again. That I was like, oh my god.
I was gonna say, but a movie like that,
There's something charming about it. Like the fact that
you bring it to the Transformers.
yeah, but like the fact that like Black Adam's theme sounds like the music you would hear on the front of like a WWE game, like that it's like these big horns, like it sounds like the introduction to a wrestler. It fits it's like that's the entire vibe right there, and I kind of appreciate it for that.
I get a good kick out of watching any movie with Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it because it's just him playing a character.
It's
And,
it's just Dwayne
you
the
know
Rock
what
Johnson.
I mean?
Like he's in Egypt, everyone has an Egyptian accent, but the Rock is just like, "What do you mean?" He's just like speaking his regular voice.
Yeah.
I can't stand him.
Hey.
I think he's the most talentless actor.
he's very much up there with like, not that I necessarily like, hate any of them, but like Will Smith and Ryan Reynolds, where I feel like they kind of just play the same character in every movie.
But at least with
It's
Ryan
great.
Reynolds, like, I get a cheap laugh out of that, right? You know what I
He
mean?
is he is
Like, I
funny,
can-
but it is like the same kind of funny every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when it comes, I don't really watch a lot of movies anymore.
Yeah, neither do I.
But
No,
I
actually,
but I
me
don't-
and Peyton, my partner, we just went and saw The Boy and the Heron on
that?
Saturday. That is Miyazaki's new film. The studio, not Miyazaki. What the fuck? That's the new film from Studio Ghibli. The same guys as like Howl's Moving Castle, Totoro, Ponyo, all those kind of films.
Okay.
What genre is it?
It's anime. But it's
Oh.
so Studio Ghibli is like kind of a unique place, and I didn't get this until like my partner kind of like got me to watch them. That it's all like it's anime, but it takes a lot from like old school Disney in a way, and it takes me back there a lot of the times. Like we were watching The Boy and the Heron, which came out this year, like it's still in theaters here, or not this year, last year. I mean, at the end of last year. And like it almost feels like I'm watching like Aladdin or something, right? Like it feels like one of those Disney classics, or like more like anime from the '90s, like what's the Sailor Moon, like that kind of style as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's really good. It's like it's a movie that like isn't there to try and like sell tickets to kids just because it's animated, or that it's trying to. It's like a fairly mature movie. Like it's cinema in that way, right? Like where you had, was it Robert De Niro a few years ago, was like the MCU Marvel movies aren't movies because they're like a theme park ride.
Martin
It's
Scorsese,
like,
I think.
is this Scorsese? One of them, one of the old Italian guys.
Yeah.
But like like the Studio Ghibli movies are kind of like what he's talking about, where it's like if you look at like Elemental or Wish or Despicable Me 4 or any of those movies that are coming out, like they're very formulaic in the way to try and like sell like a very specific audience, whereas the Studio Ghibli movies are not like that at all. Like the movie starts with a kid losing his mom in Japan in the middle of World War II, so it's like it's a very different type of like animated movie than you're like probably expecting to see.
But I like that kind of stuff because I like the non-formulaicness of it, right?
Yeah, like, it feels like you're watching a book. Like it's like a proper like story going on to it.
I think just for me, I want to watch something that makes me feel something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
like specific games like that's why I like the God of War series so much, because like all the acting and the writing in that is just done so well.
Yep. I think maybe this is just me personally, but I feel like kind of like lots of in all the forms of media, the popular domains have kind of like gone on a downhill slope, where a lot of it feels like a lot of the bigger stuff just feels like a lot of cash grabs.
It's very
Yeah,
corporatized.
you know? Yeah. Which sucks because there's certain things that like I grew up with and I want to watch something or be like, man, like that's cool, and I watch it and I'm like, and it fucking sucks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I made the comment to one of my other friends that the MC puts me through a heart wrenching journey, but not on the screen, but like inside of me for how much I hate these movies.
Yeah.
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 It's
Like, like the only heart wrenching that's happening is my sadness as I watch these characters as a kid that I would have dreamed of seeing on a TV, like on a movie screen, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is really
come to
like,
life out of the pages.
when was the
It's
last
just like-
time the MCU was
uh,
allowed to be emotional? Like Guardians 3? Like that when Chris Pratt screams when Rocket's dying? Like I felt something there. And then I don't think I can remember anything except for maybe like the payoff of Endgame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they tried to do something with Aunt May, but that really didn't resonate with anybody, I don't think.
Well,
aside from the
because
shock factor.
so here's my hot take about the new Spider. Not hot take. I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but I think the writing for the stories is god awful. It doesn't portray Spider-Man. Yeah,
Okay.
or at least how I've always said that if they wanted to do that, they should use Miles Morales. It didn't use Peter Parker because everybody from that is basically Miles Morales' storyline from the comics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're saying because Homecoming didn't blow me away. Far
Yeah.
From Home was really bad, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and No Way Home was just based off shock factor. So
Yeah.
now that you've said that, and I've actually looked at it from like that, you're actually right because it's
So, because yeah, and I've grown up with Spider-Man, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've read all the stories, and I've read the comics, and I've loved him, right? And every single time I watch those movies, I'm like, Miles Morales has worked better because this isn't Peter Parker, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I
You know what I
think
mean?
that's
Like, one of the-
where
I think-
you and me have always disagreed the most, Ben, because like I come from not reading anything. That's why Arkham Knight works for me, and it probably didn't work for you because I didn't know the Jason Todd Red Hood storyline, right? Like that is
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
was allowed to catch me off guard. Like I don't know the
Yeah.
deeper like rogues gallery of Spider-Man. I never watched the animated. I barely even watched like the Sam Raimi movies or anything. Spider-Man was just not my
Yeah.
thing until recently. So it's like
Yeah.
those movies had a greater effect on me, and I imagine a lot of people as well than it would like on you.
Yeah, well, and that's fair.
Although I
just-
do agree, I think I don't mind any of them except for No Way Home, because I feel like No Way Home is like kind of it's doing a really cool and unique thing, and then like halfway the movie they're like, hey, by the way, here's the old Spider-Man. We're gonna run off nostalgia for the last 30 minutes of this movie, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just because Spider-Man, like, what makes the Sam Raimi ones in my mind so well? What makes Spider-Man such a fun character and like a relatable character is that nothing really goes right for him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like everything kind of goes to shit. I really hate, like in the newer movies, I hate that he takes his mask off so much. Right? Yeah. Because it's like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm nitpicking, but whatever. But
Yeah.
like, it felt like things were going his way. He was having all these good things, and it just like, because the Peter Parker from the comics and from like the old stuff, like he's the kid that's struggling to pay his bills and work a job, right? And has to basically like hurt his reputation as Spider-Man by taking photos, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's not some billionaire playboy that puts on a mask. Like he's a normal human being without the mask on, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then still gets up and goes out to save the city and all this stuff, right? Yeah. And I feel like in the new movies there wasn't that relatable piece of where, like, look at this guy struggling through life and then also forcing himself to save the city. You know what I mean? Right?
And now we can only hope that they try to do something right with this next one. But it sounds like they're still trying to bring in Matt Murdock and a bunch of these other street.
Oh,
heroes.
Matt Murdock's getting his own movie. I'm pretty sure. I think they've already started filming.
Okay, I thought that was a series, wasn't it?
It might be a series. I have no idea. I thought it was supposed to be a movie, but
I'm pretty sure it's a series. But
I'm of the
I mean,
sorry, continue.
Blade was supposed to be a series too. I think
okay,
they
it
turned
is
that
supposed to be a
into-
series. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm of the opinion that Spider-Man works better as a solo series than he does in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause then
I
you
would
can see
agree,
that
but
as
like
a little-
Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man story.
Okay, well, okay,
and that's
see, okay, well, that's because there's more Spider-Man. I mean, like, not in the grand scheme of things with the MCU. right? Yeah,
Fair,
you
yeah.
know?
He's much better like in his little corner versus like being a part of an
Yeah.
Avengers lineup.
Definitely,
Yeah.
because then you see him like start developing like problem solving skills and get creative, and then
Yeah.
showing new sides of him that we haven't seen and we don't get to see if he's in an Avengers
Well-
movie, say Endgame.
Well, that's my biggest
that's-
issue with like the. I don't know if you're very big, if you're a degenerate gamer like us, Josh. But like
Used to be.
I've been recently replaying I just finished Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation, and like my biggest issue with that compared to the first game is like the first game you see Spider-Man struggling, he's fighting all 6 of his like Sinister Six all at once, and he's like struggling and you can feel it. And then in Spider-Man 2, like Miles Morales is just in the background half the time, so it's like Spider-Man's losing a fight or he's getting stabbed or something, and you're like the game wants you to go, oh no, Spider-Man, but it's like, dude, Miles Morales is right there.
Yeah.
Have him help
Yes.
you. What's happening? Like it lessens the tension of the conflict because you know that he's not necessarily alone and he has to do it all himself.
Well, and I wasn't a fan of what was the recent Spider-Man movie? Is that No Way Home?
No
Was
Way
that
Home
far
is
from- that was
the
far from them,
No
right?
Way Home was the last one.
No Way Home was the last one.
yeah.
One of the things that really like annoyed me, or maybe like not care anymore, is the fact that they brought the Green Goblin. I like whatever, cool, fun nostalgia, right? But I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping that moving Spider-Man forward, that we'd get a new look at Green Goblin with a new character. And same thing with
Well,
like
I
Sandman,
think we will now
Electro, right?
when
But
they
it's not going to hit the
give him
same.
new
But
stuff.
it's not going to hit the same.
maybe
Right?
yeah.
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 Because like you can't give me William Dafoe, who by far in my mind will always be the best Green Goblin, right?
Yeah.
And-
He's
And then
I
throw
don't
me another one.
I don't think he'll always be the best Green Goblin. I think there's definitely
I
a
don't
chance
think-
for someone to be better, but he's kind of like Heath Ledger's Joker, right? Like every Joker going
Yeah.
forward is instantly put up against Heath Ledger's Joker to see whether or not it's better or not, or whether or not it's good baseline.
But like
Yeah.
the way he portrayed Green Goblin is exactly how he's like not to a T, of course, but like so close to the way the comics and the
Yeah.
TV shows.
Also, just
Right?
because
Like
Willem
with Norman
Dafoe is like
Osborn.
fucking awesome.
He's just a brilliant actor. But same thing with Sandman and Doctor Octopus, right?
Yeah.
You know, like they made these banger Spider-Man villains, right? Yeah, in the other Spider-Man movies, right? Like even the Lizard and Electro, right? Like, and I just like if they never brought them in. Now that you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. I'm not excited for it, right? Because they've taken some of his core cast. I don't know. I want Spider-Man to go.
Well,
go
next
back
it
to
should
being
be
in his
Scorpion,
corner.
right? Because he was in Homecoming.
Yeah, he was in Homecoming with the Vulture. But what are they going to like? They're not going to give a Sinister Six now because they've already used three of the
Sinister
characters,
2.
right? Sinister 2. I think
Yeah.
it would be. It'd be Sinister 3.
What if the
Mysterio
next
go out.
movie is just like J. Jonah Jameson is the bad guy?
Real
Dude,
Spider-Man
you-
issues.
dude.
There you go.
J. Jonah Jameson has
Spider-Slayer?
had enough. He just goes out into the street. He pulls out his Glock and he's like, "Spider-Man, I will get you myself." And he like,
Start pulling
Okay,
hostages
it's funny.
and bring 'em out.
yeah,
It's
He
funny
turns into
because
Batman.
some of that basically happens. You know? J. Jonah Jameson
Yeah.
buys the mech and becomes the Spider Slayer, and goes out of his own way to kill Spider-Man.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. In some iterations, he gets a mech from I can't remember who, from the Kingpin or whatever. Yeah, and becomes the Spider Slayer and the like hopes to destroy Spider-Man.
yeah.
How did you feel about the Loki show, Josh?
I loved Loki season 2. I
you?
loved season 1, but I thought season 2 was also phenomenal.
I liked it. Sorry, continue. My bad.
I think it's some of the best work that the MCU has put out. It's like a breath of fresh air, because then again, it focuses on him, right? While also dealing with Kang, who
Yep.
I don't even know what's his situation now with the MCU, but it focused on him and a villain, right? And the
Yep.
grand scheme of saving the world, which is what superhero shows should be.
Yep. I had a few issues with it, yeah, but overall, I really liked what they did with it, right? Yeah. Like it definitely was a breath of fresh air, and it was something fun. And I think what really made that show suck for me is that I went and watched the other shows and was like, so we learned nothing from Loki, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like we've learned nothing here.
And the
So,
thing
yeah.
is, like, remember when season 1 finished and season 2 started? There's zero time wasted anywhere
Yeah.
in the series, or in
Yeah.
this last season at least. There's no stupid jokes that anybody's making.
Yep.
There's no like pausing for coffee. It's drama
Yep.
from the start.
And if they are taking pauses, the pauses mean something. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's story development, right? Like in Knives
Yeah.
Out, which I just watched. And
Yeah.
yeah, I loved it. I'm sad to see him quit, but he could come back. He
I
probably
don't. I,
will.
I feel like I kind of. You know, the only thing that's gonna bring me back to the MCU, like even a little bit,
Mm.
is if I see a shiny Tin Man with a green cloak on. Yeah, I really want Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four. Yeah,
Yeah. I
I want to
want
see. Yeah, sorry, go.
I
You
would
go.
love to see Cillian Murphy play him
Dude,
because
yes.
Peaky Blinders is one of the best series I've ever seen, and he is a phenomenal actor. You
Yeah.
can't deny it. He's one of the best in the game right now, and he
I
would truly bring a new flavor to the MCU.
well, and I think how they do their costumes too, like the MCU does their character designs. Like I'm also excited to see what they do with the Fantastic Four with that and Doctor Doom, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I'm a big X-Men Fantastic Four fan. Always have been. Yeah. Right.
Mm.
Um, and I both want them to do something with Fantastic Four and don't because I don't. And you can't make the Fantastic Four already worse than they already are from their movies, right? Yeah. But I just don't like. You know what I mean?
There was as
I
well,
don't- I
if
don't-
I remember right,
Infinity Wars.
something. I think Kevin Feige said that like all older Marvel movies have been retconned to like technically be a part of the MCU because multiverse stuff. So like it is
Yeah.
possible if they really wanted to put Chris Evans's Human Torch next to Captain America and have it canon in a movie.
and you know what? They'll probably try it.
They very well might be.
They're so out of ideas right now that
Oh, yeah.
I think Josh Brolin came out today and said Thanos could possibly return. Very possible for him to return. And
Could
some
you-
of the
they're
comments
gonna
said,
try
"They're running out of
everything."
ideas." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Thanos pops back up on screen. It's like, great. Here we just repeat Endgame.
I know, man. Like, dude, give it a break. Like, just leave it where it's at. It was perfect. Leave it alone now. Don't touch
Yeah.
it. And
I was
now sitting
joking.
back and, go ahead.
Sorry, continue. No, you go. You go.
Okay, I was just saying, like, now sitting back that when you mentioned Fantastic Four, Doom is the villain, right? So
Yeah.
how are they? Even before when this whole Kang BS started, they were still going to bring in Doom, I think, right? And have them coexist with Kang. So I wonder how they were going to try and make that work. They might switch over to Kang now or Doctor Doom now.
Well, that would because Doom's still a badass villain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Right. So, yeah.
But you wanna know what my working theory is if they bring the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom is? They're hitting up for ending the MCU because then you get the Silver Surfer and the Silver Surfer means Galactus and then you can't get bigger than fucking Galactus. Yeah, you know. And then
Well, no, because then you just do Batman with prep time.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. The next
Yeah.
MCU film will be Batman, except he's prepped to kill every single Avenger.
Batman kills
Yeah.
the Marvel Universe. I feel like they should just do that Deadpool run, honestly, and have that close
Yeah.
off the MCU.
I see, but the shitty part is I don't think they'll ever close it off. Right? Yeah.
They
I think they'll definitely do a soft reboot. They'll try to get like Iron Man or something back in.
Yeah, they'll do that. I think
Yeah,
I
they'll-
saw
yeah.
it was in 2022 when some big I think it was after Endgame. After Endgame happened and then Feige came out and said, "We're still working on the next 10 years of the MCU." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "No."
They have
don't
like
do
their whole
that."
schedule up until like 2028, like laid out.
Yeah. It's.
But then
and
that's
I
going to
don't
stretch
think-
into like 2034.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need that. I think
We don't.
we need to do like a.
I like just the little one-offs now. Like I'm kind of burnt out on like a whole connected universe. Like I like the Batman because it is just its own thing and it's allowed to be
it's its own
itself.
thing.
Like I think connecting the Avengers and doing those Avengers things was fun, but I wish like they did do more one-offs, right?
Yeah.
Like if they did Spider-Man, but he's nothing to do with the Avengers. He kind of just
Yeah.
exists, right? Yeah, and you want to do Daredevil and all this other stuff and like build up the world, right?
Which I mean, hopefully
Yeah,
he gets to
Mark
have
Ruffalo-
that because now nobody knows that Spider-Man exists.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I was just going to say Mark Ruffalo still doesn't have a solo movie.
Yeah.
And he's been
Well,
in the MCU for how many
I saw a few
Well,
people talk about the fact that like Captain Carter has gotten 3 appearances, one in a full cinematic movie, and we haven't had Sam Wilson Captain America get a movie yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got a kind of bad TV show, and that was about it.
I'm mixed
I
feelings
think-
about Sam Wilson, but whatever.
What's your least favorite MCU movie, Josh? Like, by far.
Probably it's tied with Eternals and Quantumania, I think, or Thor: The Dark World. I really can't.
Oh my god, you just brought that back to my brain. Oh god, you're right.
Yeah.
That was
Thor
awful.
1 and Thor: The Dark World are both like bad, but like Thor: The Dark World doesn't have as many Dutch tilts as Thor 1 does, so I can give it a
Honestly,
little bit of a bump.
I think I've seen maybe like 3/4 of Thor 1 when I was like 8 or 9 when it came out, so I
Yeah.
don't remember it being that bad. But
Yeah.
if I go back and watch it, I probably will. So I'm not going to watch
Dude,
it.
Chris
again.
Hemsworth and like the blonde eyebrows just did not work.
I know.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of clips.
He's
of
like
it,
all
and it's really
bleached.
bad. I
Yeah.
know, dude.
It looks like getting your like how you get like people get like their ID taken like right after like the same day they get a haircut and it just doesn't look natural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm proud of his
I,
development, his character development. He did really good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna nerd out for a minute if it's okay with you guys. Yeah.
course.
About why? So Civil War by far is my least favorite movie, and that's because it's wasted fucking potential. Yeah.
No.
So, oh no, Civil War's awful because dude, the books and the comics are like fun. Yeah. You know what I mean?
okay,
right?
okay. So based
So-
off the comic, the movie is bad. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean by nerding out, right? So based off the comics and what they're doing with it,
Like the
Civil War
movie
was-
itself is fine, but it's like it's
Yeah, the movie itself.
Okay.
what the Civil War
But, like-
comic represents. It's so much wasted on the movie.
Because
I know
Well, no,
nothing
exactly.
about the comics, so I think
Okay,
it's a great
so-
movie.
so let me throw. Let's see. In the comics, so you know, like building gets blown up in the movie, and that's how the whole like thing starts, right?
Yeah.
In the comics, it's a whole fucking city, or like a large, very large thing gets like nuked.
It's
yeah?
a school that
You know
a
what I mean?
school gets blown up right after Bucky Barnes nuked a city.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot
Wow.
more drastic.
yeah. And then in some iterations, it's new age superheroes going after very powerful villains, right? And treating it like it's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like one of them ignites and basically like blows himself up and like just wipes out lots of people, right? Yeah, you know.
Wow.
And then you go through the whole thing, and then in some iterations, this is what I'm going on for the one that I recently just read, right? Yeah, because I'm not gonna throw everything in there 'cause it gets weird.
Yeah.
But like in the one that I just read, Thor's dead. Yeah. He like Ragnarok
Really?
happens before this. Thor's dead, and Thor's like the glue of the Avengers. The Avengers fall apart, right? Yeah. Whole thing. You remember the Gigantus guy from Ant-Man 2? The what's his face? The black guy. Yeah, like the scientist dude who's working with the ghost girl. Do you know what I'm talking about, Kyle?
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember like his character really. I just remember him being like
Oh.
the dad of the girl.
Morpheus.
Yeah.
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 So he's like in the comics in some cases. He's like an Ant-Man person who gets like really big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then Reed Richards and Tony Stark and Hank Pym build Robot Thor. Robot Thor kills him. Well, they're fighting in a nuclear power plant, right? Yeah. And all that shit. Like, it's like gone haywire. There's like betrayal. Like, Hawkeye betrays like Captain America, or maybe it's Black Widow or whatever, to like Iron Man's side, right? Yeah, you know? And then they start brainwashing villains. S.H.I.E.L.D. starts brainwashing villains to fight for the government. Spider-Man's like, that's not cool. S.H.I.E.L.D. tries to kill Spider-Man. Punisher blows like the brains off like 3 villains. Yeah, you know?
Wow.
It's a lot. Yeah. But it's like a traumatic thing. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to go through, right? Yeah.
It's really sad to see what the directors have been doing, and even now with like this new information that I have no idea.
Well, it's also really so like I think you're underselling like the most important part. This is kind of like massive spoiler for the very end of the comic Civil War, but like at the end of it, Captain America dies in his fight with Iron Man.
In some cases, yes.
In the main one that is
In the main
kind
one,
of
yeah, he does.
in the main run
But
of it, Captain America dies
throwing-
like it is an end
Yeah.
cap for that universe.
Yeah, and I'm throwing out the one there where it doesn't like drastically, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to use the one that could still fit into a movie scenario that just doesn't kill Captain America, right?
Well, that's to me why
Yeah.
it's like, to me, the Civil War, the main Civil War story is the end cap to a Marvel universe, right? Versus
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
in the movies, it just sort of acts to separate Captain America and Iron Man from Infinity War, and that's it.
See,
That's
and
kind of
that's,
its whole
and that's why I'm
purpose.
going. That's why I'm going off the one that I just read, like the other one that I just
Yeah.
read. 'Cause it still
Plus,
does
in the
same
movies, it
thing.
doesn't make any
It's like-
sense because they're like, "Hey, Avengers, you guys have been causing so much destruction," and he's like, "Look at these aliens that came from outer space, and you guys fucked up the city." It's like, sorry, we were fighting off aliens from outer space that were going to blow up the Earth.
Yeah.
Or it's like, look at these
Yeah, this-
helicarriers that fucked up New York, and it's like, sorry, Nazis invaded the government and we stopped them.
Yeah, where this is like a purely political thing of should superheroes have to register their powers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not like there's no excuse. Like it makes sense and it feels good, right? You have your big moment with Spider-Man, reveals who he is, and then gets hunted down at the end. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
runaway. You know, I just reading that. I don't know. That's why I think I've never been a big fan of Civil War because I read a lot of the Civil War comics, like the different runs of it, right? Yeah,
Fair.
and sat there and I was like, I think if I take away the Civil War like comics and I look at it, it's not a bad movie, right?
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
That's a fair point. I understand what you're saying. For instance, I don't know. You remember when the Tintin movie came out, the really long one?
Yep.
I had read the first 4 volumes of like that main universe story kind of ish, and the movie is pretty much taken from. It's like what they did with Legends of the Guardians. They took the main story out of one book, and then took pieces of other stories of other books, and then kind of like attached it and like sewn it together and tried to make a story out of it. But that's why books just do better.
No, I agree.
well, that's like the Hobbit trilogy, right? Because like they wanted to have 2 Lord of the Rings trilogies, but the Hobbit is one book and it's smaller than Fellowship of the Ring. So they tried to take this one book and turn it into a trilogy, whereas like the Lord of the Rings was a trilogy that they could turn into movies, but like the Hobbit was one book that they tried to turn into a trilogy. I think it's 80,000 characters. It's not that long of a book. So they tried to turn it to a trilogy. So that's why the Hobbit movies suck, a lot of it, because it's just like half of it they're just straight up making stuff up. Like the whole subplot of like Sauron coming back and like Gandalf going on like his dark wizard quest is completely made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen any of those.
Oh, okay.
I think, and I know you and I have talked this bit, Kyle, right? But I think that when it came to the MCU, I think Ultron should have been the big bad instead of Thanos for a while, and then they should have done the whole like Civil War thing. But the whole like Civil War thing really doesn't feel like it means anything at the end of the day. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
just
probably the
used
other
to
reason I
get.
don't like
It's
it.
just used as a device to push us into Infinity War.
Because it feels like it's something that should mean something. Like they want superhuman people
Yeah.
to register themselves like their firearms, right? Yeah. Like that should be a big thing. Yeah. You know what I mean, right? And it feels like a lot of that was just a lot of like filler, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I also love as well, like the whole movie, Iron Man is on the side of the Sokovia Accords, like we should register our superheroes. And the first thing he goes out and he gets an unregistered teenage superhero to join his side.
See, but that makes sense in like in the book that I was reading. That makes sense because Spider-Man's a beloved hero in the book, right?
Yeah, but in the movie, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
In the movie,
Which is
he's non-existent
Yeah.
until
he
he goes
doesn't
to get him.
exist. That's why in the book when Spider-Man takes his mask off for the public because he's agreeing with Sokovia Accords, right? Yeah. It like means something, right? Because there's this beloved hero who nobody.
But
knows
in the
who they
movie,
are,
he just sort of
right?
shows up for people to be like, hey, look, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna catch the Winter Soldier's hand because I'm strong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna surprise him. Yeah, you know.
Um,
I'm gonna make a Star Wars reference.
let's not do Star Wars. I haven't even watched like Ahsoka or Kenobi or anything because I've just been so
I
burnt
have.
out on.
I have, unfortunately.
I tried to watch Kenobi and I was like, you know what? Nope, never mind.
I got through less than half of Ahsoka, and then I stopped. But I watched Kenobi.
That's fair. I pushed myself through it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Proud of you. Good for you.
I felt this need to sit there because I'll sit there and I almost I lied, I gaslit myself like maybe it gets better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
I tried to
and
do
then
that with
it never
She-Hulk.
gets better. Oh, dude, I watched 2 episodes of She-Hulk and quit.
Same. 2 and I was done.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know something, Ben? She is
What?
from Saskatchewan. She is from Saskatchewan.
Hey, represent.
No, keep her. We don't want her.
Yeah, please.
Well, go ahead. We're at the like hour and a half point now.
Yeah.
So I want to just, before we wrap things up and whatever, Joshua, been asking you questions for the last episode. Do you have any questions for us, the Chaos Continuum?
I don't think so. Would you ever want to do another one of these collabs? Maybe on my channel, for instance?
Yeah, we would
Yeah,
definitely
works
be.
out.
I mean, that seems fair, right? To come over and do
Yeah.
and do an episode of the Jericho. As long as I don't have to edit anything, I'm fine. Just give me a time and date.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. I don't ever edit anything. Like what we did was we download the video and then we upload it.
Yeah, just
We never edited like the full hour-long
Yeah.
thing.
to be fair,
Yeah, it's
I
been
don't
great.
edit the podcast very much. I put it into my timeline. I turn the volume up, and I put the outro or the intro on the end, and then that's about it. I put way more effort into the shorts, which is why we haven't had one in about a week and a half.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
it's
It was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
yeah, it's been a very enjoyable time.
Same.
I wouldn't mind doing this again. Well, thank you very much for everyone. Hold on. Give me like half a second. It's late.
What are you?
We've been talking for like almost an hour and 45 minutes.
I've forgotten how to
Just have
talk,
like,
yeah.
Catch our breath.
Thank you to everyone for watching. This has been the Chaos Continuum podcast with Joshua from the JERIKO podcast. It will be linked down in the description. All your socials, Instagram, YouTube, all of that down there. Check it out. Thank you guys very much for watching, and go fuck yourselves.